Here we are again at the Court Cabaret at the Florida Studio Theater. And today we're talking about live entertainment and how it's coming back strong in our area. Like many venues around Sarasota, the Court Cabaret here at FST has a full schedule of shows in the coming months. We'll talk to Sarah Durham about that and much, much more. But first, one of the oldest forms of entertainment, and sometimes in history illegal, it was illegal in some places, is drag. From Milton Berle, Rudy Giuliani, Jack Lemmon, Tony Curtis, Dustin Hoffman, Robin Williams, and the list goes on. That is quite a group, woof. And if you don't know who these guys are that I just mentioned, Google them. Actors have donned a wig and a frock to entertain, disguise, distract, and demonstrate what the power of lipstick and heels have. Joining me are two fabulous drag queens, and each with their own unique story. Rockell Blue, aka Robert Rigsby, is a dear friend of mine that I've not only worked with as a drag performer, but also as a choreographer. And Rockell came to us directly from Las Vegas, Nevada, where she was an entertainer for many years, and Beneva Fruitville is here to answer my questions. I love it. You know Beneva from her segment here on The Brunch Show and many other public appearances. Gosh, we've known each other a while, Beneva.
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. It's been years.
It's been quite a few years.
Oh,
yes.
I love that. And Robert, we've been working together, having fun, doing lots of different things.
So fun.
Yeah, fun. It is fun. Now, I'm gonna ask this of you separately, and a lot of people always ask me this question about when did I start doing drag, and I always laugh that I can't remember when I didn't really do it. You know, when I was a kid, I loved the Sonny and Cher show, and we had black towels, and I would put those on and be like, oh, you know, and do all that kind of stuff. And my grandmother would enjoy it so much and laugh so much at it that I thought, oh, wow. People enjoy this, and it kind of stuck with me over time. But let's start with Rockell. How did you get started in drag?
I think it was more of like MTV wanting to be Janet Jackson kind of thing, like hiding in the bedroom and black cat, yeah. It was very much that story, but I think what the pivotal thing that kind of started to click was in 1996 when Rent came out and the character Angel. I resonated with her in such a different way. Right. But it wasn't until college when I had lots of vodka and boys that were around and they inspired me. So I think it was really, that was the baseline. But for me in the community as a black gay man who does drag, it was kind of like, that's four more things against me to be, you know, attracted to other men. Yeah, so I was like, I put it off for a long time. But what actually ended up happening, I was in Vegas and I broke my wrist, had surgery. And I started working with Las Vegas Pride. And they had me as a showboy, which I do.
Yes, you are a showboy.
I'm gorgeous. And what ended up happening was one of our prides, which was San Diego Pride, one of the girls couldn't be there. But because I did makeup, they're like, well, why not? So from that point on is how Rockell became Rockell.
I love it.
And I started doing drag, and then I ended up doing it so much that I was doing it for charities. And then people started saying, oh, she's got something. Yeah. And then I started getting paid for it, and here we are.
I love it. And Beneva, what about you? I mean, I should know your story, but let's let the viewers know.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I am, in a very similar vein, grew up watching the Carol Burnett show and loved the Bob Mackie gowns and loved all the... And I remember when it had the big production numbers, too. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just the sketches. They were huge production numbers, and I loved that part. So like I grew up kind of doing the same thing, the towel on the head, my long luxurious blonde hair, and that kind of led me into the theater vein. So I got involved in theater, and then through theater, you know, putting on the makeup and playing different roles, and then getting to dab a little bit in drag, but on stage, because I was in the legitimate theater, darling.
Yes, yes.
And
I've dabbled.
just stuck your toe in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so then I came to Sarasota in 2004. I was on a 3-show equity contract. So
so we had to, you couldn't turn that down.
Not. I mean, I'd left Manhattan, my show closed, I got a 3-show contract. I was like, screw it, I'll go to Sarasota. Right. So anyway, long story short, we were doing a production of Chicago. Yeah. And the rehearsal studios where we were rehearsing the show It was on the corner of Beneva and Fruitville.
Yeah, which I love.
And I said to my friends at the time, I said, Beneva, Fruitville, that sounds like a drag name.
I know.
And so all my friends just started nicknamed me Beneva. So that was my nickname. And then a few years later, we're doing La Cage aux Folles.
Yeah.
And one of the Cagelles, I played Chantal, the opera singer Cagelle. And we were asked to do an AIDS benefit for Cannes. And they wanted drag queens, but they wanted drag queens who could sing and dance and do all that stuff live. So they asked us theater kids, we were in our 30s and 40s, but we were in the chorus, so we were still kids. So we did a benefit, and they asked me what I wanted my drag name to be, and I said Beneva Fruitville, of course. And that's when she was born.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been performing as Beneva Fruitville under the name of Beneva Fruitville for 13 years.
I always laugh because when I come here to film this, I go through Beneva Fruitville, and then I go up a couple more streets, and it's Shade, and it says Shade, next signal, and I always go, You know, one day I was talking with Rockell about drag and about all the different types of drag that are out there, because there's so many. And I get fascinated with drag kings and bio queens, and just there's so much of it. And what I like about the three of us, because all three of us do drag,
yes.
I feel like I do drag so well that the executive producers never let me appear in drag on this show. So there you go. But I will say that we started talking about those classifications, and one of the things we talked about, I always said that I like to be sort of a camp queen. I'm never trying to fool anybody. This is obviously, you know, me playing a man in a dress, and it's funny, and it's, you know, I cultivate the look, but it's always a joke. And I always felt that Rockell, and she really set me straight on this. I always said Rockell's a dancing queen, but Rockell's also a pageant queen. And then, Beneva, you have your own story as well, because we have a very similar style in our performances and the kind of things that we do. I mean, Broadway babies.
Some might call me the poor man's Matthew McGee.
Never. See, you know what? That's funny you say that, but I do not believe that at all, because I think you really are a star. And one of the things I like about you the most, and this is something else that, for some people, when they want to talk about, you know, trans drag, right, which is, you know, is a thing, because you are trans, one of the things that they want to talk about is how new this is. This is not new.
Not at all.
When I was doing drag in '94, the first time I ever did drag was at a place called Club Paradise on I-75 in Valdosta, Georgia.
That sounds disgusting.
It's amazing. I remember a big fight between a drag queen and a lesbian,
yes.
and she poured a whole pitcher of beer on top of the lesbian. It was great. But Elise Michaels was basically the show director, and I came in on one of those nights where you give it a try. And wow, woof. Rockell Holiday was the name. And Rockell, I tried to steal your name. And the other thing was Holiday from the Holiday Mart down the street. Anyway,
nice.
But what I liked about it was, what fascinated me was these three performers also lived their lives as women. They they were hairdressers, and they were they did other things, but they were women by day, and by night. But they made drag part of their, part of what their, I won't say bag of tricks, but it was part of their way of making money and also expressing themselves. Do you find people find that interesting with you? Or are people asking you more questions about it? Do you think maybe the exposure of it is helping people learn things? Because you have a very different crowd, a very wide variety of people in your crowd. So you think maybe in a way you feel a certain sense of responsibility?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've always stood for since I came out, as my first time coming out, because I've come out several times in my life. I came out as a gay man when I was 14 years old. And then when I went to college, I graduated quite early, not quite early, but I graduated high school at 17. I went to college in Cincinnati at the Conservatory of Music there. And I immediately wanted to become involved in politics. And I joined the LGBT, it wasn't LGBT, we were the Gay Rights Liberation at the time. Yeah. And I joined ACT UP, and I became very involved in AIDS rights and AIDS charities and stuff like that. And so I've always been very active in the community and felt like there's something to be done as an activist as well as a performer.
Sure.
And the two always combined for me. So going to your question more specifically, as a trans person, I grew up around trans people. Sure. Like my whole coming of age was around trans people and in the drag world. So trans queens who are also drag queens. And there is a difference. Right. So trans is who I am. Drag is what I do.
Right.
And that's kind of hard for some people to understand, but that's a very interesting and complex way of looking at the whole spectrum. Trans is who I am. That's how I live my life. I'm a woman. I used to be a man. I don't mind saying that. It doesn't bother me in the least. I am very open about my story. That's who I am. That's me as a person. My job is to entertain in drag. I think the two things are disparate, but also completely connected.
Absolutely. That's a great way of putting it. And you're doing so much for people. You have to know that, because you really are. You know, you're relaxed in your story. You're not afraid to talk about anything.
Not at all.
And I think that's so important for young people to see. So I applaud you for that. Rockell, I mean, this is a great point in the show because they wanted me to ask you these questions, and I think it is fun. What is one thing that people don't know about you? Aside from the fact earlier you ripped your pants.
Yes.
And you're covering that up a little bit right now.
I am squeezing like the good pageant girl I am.
You are. You did a high kick.
Everything sucked in and tucked in and tucked up. Yeah.
Everything ripped. I know.
I think one of the funniest things, there's a lot that a lot of people don't know about me.
Yeah.
There's so much. I mean,
some of it you couldn't even tell us.
The direction of just in general, my life has been being a young guy from Mississippi, and I never say Mississippi anymore because the simple fact of Katrina ruined my house.
Right.
So none of my family lived there. So I no longer call Mississippi home. So one of the things about me that's really, really funny is I always loved to play with Barbie dolls.
Yeah.
And I would always take my sister's Barbie dolls and make costumes for them.
Yeah.
And then I would take the girls and put them on top of my trucks. And
Yes.
and
You gotta have a good ride.
I would make parades in my house.
Yes, I love it.
Okay, but you have to understand, again, in Mississippi, Mardi Gras is a very big deal.
Yeah.
And as a former Miss Mardi Gras, I'm really kind of excited that I actually did finally win that title.
Yes.
Shades. A lot of people don't know that, but it's like one of those things that just happens. But that was one of my favorite things to do when I was little.
It's interesting how Barbie connects us a lot, because I was always told you can't have a Barbie, right?
I was never told that.
And I just coveted them so much that now I have so many ridiculous ones. What's something people don't know about you? And you put it all out there, so
I do.
Who knows?
I mean, it's like a Chinese buffet. It is out there. I guess something that a lot of people assume that I was born and raised in Sarasota because of my name, because of my longevity here as a performer. I actually am a Floridian. I grew up in Winter Haven, Florida. And I call it God's waiting room. Yeah. But yes.
It is a haven.
It is a haven,
Yeah.
and people winter there.
They wintered there.
So, but yeah, actually that was Theater Winter Haven, which is quite a well-known community theater. Them's my stomping grounds, and I love that theater, and I love that I had that respite, that kind of like comfortable place from the outside of Polk County. And Polk County, if you know Polk County, it's a lot of orange trees and cows.
Yeah.
And, so I'm not really from Sarasota.
People think that.
I know. Shh, don't tell them.
I know. You're a national treasure, an international treasure.
Regionally.
But look, we can live with that. I'm going to ask you quickly. Either one of you, do you have a signature number that you do?
My favorite song to perform, and it's yes, and you can all hate me for this, but it is the Glee version of Don't Stop Believin', where Rachel sings it as a solo when she auditioned for Funny Girl on Broadway.
That's right.
And she did it as a solo, and then all the ghosts of her high school companions come up behind her and sing with her, and she only imagines it in her head. I loved it. It just amps me up.
It's a good one. You can feel it.
Yeah,
it's in your bones.
And the audience loves that song, and they always sing along, and yeah.
I love that. Rockell, signature number.
Mine is Heads Will Roll.
Yeah.
By Ajax. It's a fun song because I love nothing but dance music. I mean, like I've just started like adding more comedy stuff in because that's hard.
Yeah.
Yes, it's hard.
It is.
Because I'm known for dancing, but
Right.
I love Heads Will Roll. It's a number I do every year. But I also do another number. I use Janet. What is that called? Forever. Everywhere I go, every smile
Oh,
I see. Together again.
yeah.
I
You
literally
are there
do that.
smiling back at
I do
me.
it for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Historically, I do it for Christmas, for my mom's birthday. But that's a number that I always do, and it's
Yeah.
always great at benefits because I know no one is ever going to do it.
Right?
Isn't that funny? Janet, you talk about Janet, talk about Cher. Anybody that influenced you, like those one name glamour pusses?
Carol Burnett.
Carol Burnett.
Really, I love to see and hear people laugh.
Yeah.
That's how I know I've done my job.
Me too.
I love it. It's what fires me up. I love to hear the audience laugh. And if I've made one person laugh, then I know I've done my job.
It makes such a difference. Bringing people joy, especially during this time, has been a gift.
Yes.
And if you're allowed to do it, whether that's in a pageant or on stage in a cabaret or doing your own shows, it's such a gift. And I always, always appreciate it. And I always, like you two, try to give the audience 100%. I mean, we're looking at three pretty versatile performers on the stage that if we did have a Beneva Fruitville show, like a Carol Burnett show, I think there's got to be an opportunity for Miss McGee and Rockell Blue to show up and have a maybe a cameo. Or
that is my dream in life, is to have my own 70s variety show.
We're going to do it right here.
I'm down.
go.
I love it.
Call Bob Mackey. Call him.
Roca Productions, your production
Yes,
company, can make
exactly.
it happen.
Yeah.
We're dipping our feet into so many things. We could do a whole other show about the three of us.
Oh,
Yes,
totally.
And perhaps we will with Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything, Julie.
I'm Vita, damn it.
Yes, you better believe it.
Yes, you are.
I'm more of an Oxima Jackson.
Yes,
Look at
I'm
these shoulders.
definitely Vita.
Look at
Does that
these
make me
shoulders.
Chi-Chi?
You're Chi-Chi.
Girl.
I'm not surprised.
You give me a Latin vibe, and I love it. Ladies, thank you so much for coming in today, and maybe sometime we can get a number together. I think that'll be
love
funny.
that.
In our next segment, cabaret and piano bars are making a comeback. Did you know this? I didn't know. Who doesn't love a cocktail and some live music? And Ariel Blue takes us to someplace really special. You don't want to miss that.
Yay!
As I've said before, for some, life's a drag, and for others, life is a cabaret, especially here at the Court Cabaret at Florida Studio Theater. Joining me is Sarah Durham from Florida Studio Theater. Hello, Sarah.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank
This
you.
place is busy this summer, right? Lots of things
yes.
happening. Tell me about some of the current and upcoming shows.
Well, one, it feels good to actually be busy again. We are about to open our summer season, so we have 3 cabarets coming in and 3 main stage shows. Our summer cabarets are a little different than our winter cabarets. Our winter cabarets, we develop all of those ourselves. We write them, we come up with the music list, but the summer we hire people to come in. So our first show is a show called Great Balls of Fire. It's a Jerry Lee Lewis show based out of the original company's based out of New York, and they do all the great Jerry Lee Lewis piano tricks and everything.
All those hits.
Yes. We've got that one. We've got another one called Shades of Bublé. 3 men singing the music of Michael Bublé.
Oh, love that.
Yes, yeah. Then they go through his Motown stuff, his pop stuff, his Sinatra era things, and his originals too. So
That's great.
Great songbook there. And then our closing show, we're bringing back a group that we've had. I think this is their 3rd time coming, the Swingaroos. They're also based out of New York, but they're a territory band, so they do everything from jazz to swing to they bring out some banjos and do some bluegrass kind of territory stuff, and it'll be a great show. They always have the most incredible arrangements, and
Yeah.
they do a great job.
Yeah,
so.
I love a lot of the shows and the choices, and everybody loves music. So they want to have something they can go to after all of this and
Yes.
just enjoy themselves, which is so important. I love the space.
Right.
Every time I come back to this area, to Florida Studio Theater, it's expanded more and more, right? It's like,
Oh,
you know.
yes.
So when did Florida Studio Theater acquire this building, and when did it open up as a space for cabarets?
Yeah, so this was, we've had this space since 2012. This Court Theater itself opened in 2013. And with opening this space, we, I think, tripled our cabaret subscription base and really solidified our cabaret season as a mainstay. And with that, I mean, every year we're expanding and expanding, but I think this space is so beautiful and intimate and kind of has that nostalgic feel of for me, you know, things I saw on TV and movies.
Yeah,
or,
like a supper club, you know,
Yes,
like we're going to the Stork
absolutely.
Club this
yes,
evening.
Yeah, like knock 3 times and tell them Joe sent you.
Yes,
like,
it's got
beautiful.
a speakeasy feel. It's got that great
Yes,
quality.
yeah.
Now we talk about cabaret a lot. There's a musical called Cabaret, and
Yeah.
we hear about it a lot. But a lot of times people may wonder what makes a cabaret.
Yeah, I think a cabaret is it's more of a concert feel versus when you go to see a musical or a stage play. It's very intimate, and it's very accessible. I think it's things, even if you don't know the entire songbook of the show that we're putting on, you find pieces to connect to, and it's very much about the relationship with the performer and the audience. It's the performer being there for the joy of the audience and the joy of the music and the musicians that we celebrate in our cabarets. So it's always a very intimate journey with the performers.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a different experience. And I think after everyone's been so separated, it's nice to come together. I think, and my next question was sort of about, do you think it's become more popular than in the past? But I think sometimes cabarets and concerts for us during coronavirus, especially being, you know, a theater affiliated with Actors Equity and other things, cabarets and concerts were sort of the thing that we could make happen quickly, and that we knew people would enjoy, and we could get people back to work. So do you think that maybe is something we'll see even more of now?
I think so. I think people realized, for us, as when we were shut down, it generally takes us about 3 to 6 months to really fully develop a cabaret. And with our shutdown, we were able to crank out 10. We wrote 9 or 10 cabarets like through that process. And so I think, you know, the shutdown was so hard on everyone, but it really gave us some time to like amp up our season for the next few, you know, like we are ready to go for the next 3 seasons now of cabarets.
It's almost like an interesting reset, because when you do theater and you work at like this is like a great producing organization. You know, there's always something happening.
Yes.
A lot of times with theater, people say, oh, you know, I can always get into the museum, but when I try to call around, maybe the theater doesn't have something on. But at Florida Studio Theater, you can see something.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a great model for success. And I like the idea that piano bars and cabarets are popular again. That we have one here in Sarasota now, a piano bar.
Yes.
I think it would be fun to see more of that. And I think we will.
I think so too. I think there's also this, you know, we've all gone through the craziest year of our lives for the most part. And there is this callback to some of the simple joys of things that we really, especially over the past year, missed. So those joys of just being able to sit and enjoy a beer and listen to some great music. And I mean, for me, we just did a show called 3 Pianos, all about the love of the piano.
I heard amazing stuff about that.
And I learned so much about the great piano musicians, you know, Carole King and Stevie Wonder and all of these incredible musicians, and how simple a piano is one instrument, but it becomes a whole orchestra.
Yes, that's right.
And I think that's, for me, why I love going to piano bars, is you can get everything you ever imagined from this one instrument. It's just the most versatile, and through that, it's like, you know, how they talk about food is like the great equal, or, you know, it brings everyone together. To me, it's music too.
Yeah, it's kind of like we all have to gather around the campfire again to hear stories and hear and experience music. And I think it could be a renaissance. I think it could be like a really special time that we're going to come out of.
Well, and you said story too, which I think is so important, and that's something especially here at FST that we try to do, is we tell the stories of the musicians and the stories of the performers, and it's stories that might seem very unique and personal to them, but there are people who can connect with those stories.
Yeah.
And the greatest storytellers of our generations are songwriters.
They are.
So, you know, cabaret, it's just this really special medium that I'm so grateful I get to be a part of. And
Yeah, there's only a few places around here that does this, and it's really special.
I think even across the world.
I would think so. FSC has this really great, you know, great plays, great musicals, great performances, and this wonderful cabaret series that really is original and special. Sarah, thanks for being with us. I could talk about this all day, and maybe we will continue. And thanks to you and FST for allowing us to shoot the brunch show here.
Yes,
It really
you're
is
welcome
special.
anytime.
We love it. We love it. There's still more to come. Ariel Blue takes us to a sweet spot here in Sarasota. We'll be right back for all of that. Ariel Blue has found a place that has some amazing treats, all while helping people get some valuable experience and job training.
Thank you for having us here. We definitely appreciate it. So tell me about your vision for Rise and Rise.
Rise and Rise. So it's under the umbrella of my nonprofit, which is called Inclusion Revolution.
Okay.
It's a feature program for the nonprofit. It's a great coffee and ice cream shop. We have ice cream and cookies all made in-house fresh every day. We do New Orleans style beignets. We build ice cream sandwiches for you. You can pick your cookie, pick your ice cream, make a giant sandwich for you. It's great fun.
That sounds delightful. Inclusion Revolution. What is that all about?
That's really what Rise and Rise is all about. We employ individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. In Florida, people time out from regular school at age 22. So it's a tough thing for these guys. Many of them can't just go out and go find a job somewhere. And 80% of this population is unemployed. Most of the guys that work here have never had a job. So we wanted to make sure that they had an opportunity to find employment, to have a job, to get paid. We pay more than minimum wage. They get a business card, they get an apron, a uniform. But more importantly, they have a place to be. They have a place to be included, to be seen, to be heard, to finally have a voice and a platform. Because they've been excluded for just way too long.
So I'm here at the counter to get ice cream, of course. It's a nice open air place, but one of the people that you might see greeting you is Caleb. Caleb's gonna take my order. Hello.
Okay.
So it's my first time here.
Yes.
I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
But I know what I want.
Okay.
I would like the non-dairy caramel pecan
Yes.
on 2 chocolate chip cookies.
Okay. Go right up.
Thank you, Christy. Ooh. Get a load of this non-dairy caramel pecan betwixt 2 chocolate chip cookies. Back to you, Matt.
Oh, that was sweet. What a fun show. Our next show will be a bit more serious. We'll be talking about family, parenting, and coming out. You won't want to miss it. That's all the time we have today. As always, a big thank you to the Community Foundation of Sarasota County for their generous grant. I'm Matthew McGee. See you next time on The Brunch Show.